Hi everyone, I'm back to Meruert Tolegen space to chat more about fashion and creativity. Our first video together dropped around 1 month ago where you can tour her newly opened store in Soho, New York. I have been admiring and wearing Meruert's pieces for a few seasons now. She's one of the CFDA Vogue Fashion Fund finalists and semi-finalist for LVMH prize in 2025, and one of the most interesting brands to watch during New York Fashion Week. Her garments are romantic, very often historical, sculptural, with detailed and precise craftsmanship.
I love so many pieces. And like the first time I actually was introduced to your brand when I was still in LA, and I think it was like 3 years ago, I think, something like that. I think you worked with Novella.
Yes.
So, and she had a press day and she brought a lot of pieces. She was a lot of pieces there.
That. Yeah.
So was my first time when I saw your brand.
I didn't even realize that.
And it was really pretty. Yeah. So can you tell me how would you describe your own brand aesthetic?
I think it kind of flows very naturally through. So I have a very skewed view of it. I think it's definitely a moody kind of brand. I think even in the beginning when it was very, people kind of called it romantic or like feminine. It wasn't quite that. I think I just didn't know how to depict it very well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely moody. I think it's artsy, but I also think it's sophisticated in the sense that it's not super commercial in the way that you kind of cut and sew a dress and it's mass produced. It has a hand touch. It has this like antiquity added into it, and I think. So I would say probably the two words are it's artistic and it's moody.
Yeah, I love the moody. Like I think every time I post about your brand, I'm saying I love this moody space or moody that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like a big word that can describe the entire feeling in a way. But yeah, like talk about antiquity, and obviously everyone quotes so many historical details in your collections. Is there where does this love to antiquity comes from?
So I think contrary to how the garments look, I think that antiquity and that hand feel is more my appreciation and admiration for the way garments used to be made, the way that everything was made by hand and very slowly, and that it took people a long time to sit and just kind of go through each piece and think about it, and the way kind of couture dresses are made today. Not every single one of my pieces have that, but definitely there are details and little kind of inner workings of the garment that I like to apply that concept to.
Do you have a lot of like vintage dresses in your like
As an
archives?
inspiration?
Yeah, because it
No.
feels like you would have like all this antique corsets and stuff like that, because there's so many details like that and they're so precise that one would think that in your atelier you have them like cut inside and explored as a science on this like scientific basis in a way.
We don't have a lot of them. I did last year. Was it last year? I think maybe a year ago, that I actually just kind of scavenged through eBay and I found literally like 18 and in like early 1900s gowns.
Wow.
And I did buy a few of those. I bought this like cape. I bought some corsetry, but they were medical corsets, and this was actually for this Vogue Fund challenge that we did, where we worked on with people with disabilities to help and create garments for them, and so that was kind of a research point for me. We've used a few things for research, but it didn't start until kind of recently that I started to feel more comfortable with using other garments for research in this way, because previously it was kind of more, I didn't even want to look at other garments.
Okay.
But I did look quite a bit, and before actually I started this, I forgot to talk about this, but I before I started fashion, before I did any of that, I would find pieces that I really liked and I would just buy them. And I was working.
What kind of pieces? Do you remember any of the pieces that you got?
So I didn't even know what the brands were. I wasn't in fashion, so they were, but I just thought they were beautiful. And when I went back and I looked at what these labels are, and when I started to try to understand how things are sewn and how they're done, it's funny because they were Alvar Elbaz Lanvin pieces and like Margiela pieces and like very old Rochas pieces. And it's kind of funny because it wasn't something I understood, but it's definitely influenced.
Intuitively got you into.
Yeah. And it's definitely influenced how I think and how I admire and respect for garments to be finished on the inside and the way that they should be done.
That was one of the questions I actually wanted to ask about the brands and designers that you like admire.
Alvar Elbaz. And I think he just had a very interesting way of thinking. Like, it's funny because when I look at his garments, it really feels like this, I don't know, mesmerizing moment when you look inside and how it's made and the way it was thought out. It's kind of mind blowing the way, and it's funny to say this about garmentry, but the way that he was able to put it together and make it look like it hasn't been thought through so much. Like he just kind of slapped on a grow grain and then just made a loop out of it and just stitched it on. It's like, wow, it's like really that's all you did, but it's done in such a smart and such a sophisticated way that it just looks so couture. And then that's where the hand feel also comes from. The way garments are finished inside, the way it's cut, the way that the facing is done, you can kind of look and really discover so much in one piece. So sometimes I sit and I just kind of look through those garments and I'm like, this really, like, I couldn't have thought of it.
First show was in Paris. Was it inspired by the, let's say, Alvar Elbaz or like French couturiers that you want to start there, or?
I brought the collection to Paris, and I think it was.
So it was your first collection, right?
My first collection that I cut and I sewed and I made for consumption, I guess. Something that was ready to be reproduced. I brought to Paris, and that was only because the salesperson I met did it in Paris, and I thought maybe that's where everybody went and did it. I wasn't sure how to get onto the New York Fashion Week calendar, and it's good that actually it took me some time too, because I don't think I would have been ready to do it then. And the brand had some time to mature. But I think it was a nice little presentation. It's kind of more of a showroom.
So technically, it just went through the sales because you found the sales that was good in Paris.
Exactly.
No, I thought maybe there was like a story that you were inspired by some house or some show or something else that you wanted to like, no, I'm going to start in Paris.
There was a beautiful, so I did find a space there that was very beautiful. It's this photographer who's very talented and kind of quirky herself and artistic, and she has this space in the Marais that faces the park, and I think it's on Rue du Temple. It might be incorrect, but I think it's there, and it's this beautiful little apartment with this like antiquity inside. Everything is kind of preserved, and these antique beds, and everything looks like it's like a little piece of Versailles.
What's the photography?
Her last name is Brosh. I need to find it. I can actually link you to it. So I found.
Now I'm curious to learn.
I found. I think before I did fashion, I just ran into her apartment photographed, and I don't know where. Maybe AD or maybe it was Vogue. Somewhere, and it was in kind of this countdown of like the most beautiful places that you can rent actually on Airbnb. And then I happened to run into it on Airbnb, and I was like, oh my God, this is the place that I saw in this magazine or in a write-up, and I rented that as the showroom space.
Oh wow!
And you can actually just like sleep there. It has a kitchen. It has a beautiful bathtub in the bedroom.
So that was the first presentation.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. I wanted to ask. I know, like the other night at the opening event, I heard that you don't have a fashion education, which was surprised me. It surprised me in a really good way. That's why I was like, really? What do you mean? Sorry, because your pieces are so layered, structured, so sought out, and you know the cut and everything is, and all the references that you start feeling and reading behind your pieces, and they're so complex, you know, that you wouldn't expect that you don't have a fashion education per se. So I wanted to ask you how, you know, how did you actually decided that you want to be a fashion designer? I know you started with a children's wear, but obviously it evolved 100 times more than that. So I wanted to see what's behind, how do you see your brand, where it's going, how do you want us to see it too?
Yeah, so I didn't formally study fashion, and it wasn't something I was planning to do at all. It was just something I actually kind of picked up when I was staying home with my daughter, and I'm not a person who can just who can sit even if I have a lot to do. I feel like I put 10 more things on my plate. So that's what happened. I started the children's line, just kind of to keep myself busy. I was working in science areas before, and
What kind of science, can I ask?
Biosciences.
Bioscience.
And I thought I'd go back to doing that, and I didn't, because when you have children, as you know, life is kind of unpredictable, and you realize that there's a lot that you are now responsible for, and so I think I ended up staying home and caring for her and trying to understand how to navigate motherhood. And through that, I founded the children's line, which was first a curated store. Then it became a full line of children's wear that I was kind of experimenting with. And there is where I made women's pieces, which didn't quite fit with the children's line. So I separated them and I created this line, Meruert Tolegen, which I took my grandfather's last name for. And I separated them just for the sake of it looking clean for the children's brand. And it became a whole separate thing. It snowballed and became its own world and aesthetic. And honestly, it took a while for me to even understand what aesthetic I was trying to accomplish, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to achieve with it. It took me a while to really kind of gather all of that. I think a lot of people, when they start a brand, they probably start with a concept in mind.
Yeah.
But I kind of started with a few pieces that didn't really have a story or a world behind them quite yet.
Do you still have a kids wear?
I still have the children's line, but I really don't pay much attention to it. But I will revive it.
Where can I find it? Is it online?
Yeah, it's called La Petite Anaïs.
Okay, so if I want to go shopping for my baby, I'll just go to La Petite Anaïs.
Yeah, it's very outdated, but it's there.
It's still there.
It's still there. It still exists.
When did you feel that you finally understood, kind of like crystallized the idea of what your brand should look like?
I think it's always evolving. I think it's within you. So if it's something that you really enjoy and you really like and you have kind of an affinity to, I think it will just kind of take a life of its own, and it will naturally flow into what it should be. I think that's kind of where my approach was, and that's how it ended up happening for this brand.
Grandfather, because you took his name and put it into the brand, what was the connection? Did he, teach you, I don't know, sewing or knitting or something? Like, can you give us a little bit of background there?
Yeah, I think some of it did come from my childhood and growing up with my grandparents. My grandmother, she would sew, and as you know, Kazakhstan was part of the Soviet Union, where clothing or anything was kind of scarce when they were teens, when our grandparents were teens, and
Yeah, it was
so
really hard to find something
there was
fun.
there was nothing around. So my grandmother would sew and knit, and I think this was a very common practice then.
Yeah.
And so she passed that on to me, and we'd sit and crochet and knit together. She taught me how to sew, and I think it's less out of understanding of craft and more out of, oh, well, a woman should know how to do this, which is not really my take on things. And honestly, I don't know how to sew on a machine. I can hand sew pretty well, machine not so much. I can knit, I can crochet, but I'm not creating my pieces myself.
More personal creative space, sort of more unofficial in a way, right? But we talk a lot about fashion, which I love, but I also wanted to talk about your more like personal life, because you're a mother, a woman, creative, and can you just give like an idea how was your regular day look like?
I think every day is kind of different. I'm not a very scheduled person. I used to think I was, and I'm not. I'm organized, but I'm not a scheduled person. So every day is kind of different. I do play tennis twice a week. That's kind of something that's on my schedule always. But well, in the morning, we get the kids ready for school. We send them off on the bus normally. And then my husband does that half the days, or most days actually. And so I kind of get up, I get on my emails.
Are you a morning person?
I'm not an early morning person, but I don't like to waste the morning, but I don't wake up at 6 a.m. That's not me. I used to do things like that, and I think as I got older, or maybe just kind of lack of sleep with children,
I just change your schedule all the
my
time.
schedule is different, yeah. But I do some work in the morning, then I come into the studio, we go through things here, we figure out things there are just so many different nuances in different areas where we need to work. So whether we're working on the marketing and PR, or working on the new collection, or on the store, or activations, or events, and we're always kind of trying to figure something out. When there's never kind of a dull moment. There's always something to do. I founded the company. The brand, the company. And I also do the creative part. But then I design and I create, but then everything kind of gets trickled down to people to take care of and execute, which is amazing when you have a team who is put together and everybody kind of has their task and knows what they're doing. And
is your husband also in the creative?
Not at all.
Not at all?
No.
You met him in California?
Yeah, we met in California.
But you have both kids here, or back in California?
We had them both here. We've been here, well, I've been here about 6 months or a year. No, it's about 6 months longer than my husband. But I moved here in 2000, I want to say January 2014. I moved to California when I was 5 years old, and we actually went back and forth from California to Kazakhstan until I was about 10. 9. And so when I was 10, I moved back here to the U.S. To live here full time. But
do you go back to Kazakhstan at all?
Not really. No.
Since 10, like.
No, I've gone. So I did my very first runway show there.
Okay. So yeah, then you don't go back after the show, right? So you never went back again.
No, I haven't gone back. But I would like to bring my children to visit.
So I'm just curious, how do you guys raise the kids? Because obviously the French way of raising kids and American and Kazakh way of raising kids are 3 different ways.
I think
it's how do you guys manage it?
I think it's very blended. I have my own way that I grew up with that subconsciously I pass on to my children, and probably the same for my husband. So my cultural aspects of myself as a person and as a parent get passed on, and so do my husband's. So it's very blended. They speak. Well, I grew up speaking Russian because it was a post-Soviet country, so I barely even know Kazakh. I can understand it, but not as well as I should. My husband speaks French to them, and for my husband, I think it's quite easy because his native language is French, and he's better at French, and so the children, it just kind of flows. For me, I have to put a little more effort into speaking it to them in Russian.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, you founded a brand, so it's a huge change. But like, did you feel a big change, or you felt like it was quite easy for you? Like, just a little bit of your motherhood story, if you can.
I think you can think you're prepared, and I think you're never prepared when you have the baby. Some people are just so natural at it, and I've heard some parents say, "Oh, it was amazing, and we're so happy," and it is a happy time, and it is lovely to have children, but it's always, I think, an adjustment, and it was for me an adjustment with having my first one, and then also having my second one. It's not. I think it's not super intuitive. There are just so many rules with children when they're babies, and then as they grow older, you find so many different aspects of motherhood challenging, and you kind of have to figure out new ways of approaching these tasks, and your children and their personalities evolving and changing too.
How do you kind of like divide your time between working and being present as a mother? Because I think like for me, it's one of the biggest in a way challenges, especially with the phones, because we're always working sort of on the phone, even though it doesn't look like it, but always checking mails or always checking whatever, messages and editing something on the phone too. And obviously I want to be with my baby, but sometimes it's like, oh, we need urgent this and that, and I'm like, okay, I really, when I was my baby, I like to put a phone away if I can and just not touch it at all. But sometimes it's impossible, and I feel guilty about it. I don't know how you manage that.
I think every working mother has this. I definitely have this guilt that I work too much. But I think lately I've actually made it a point to balance my work-life schedule, and not only for my children, but for my well-being. I think otherwise, at some point I led myself to burnout, where I felt like I wasn't present 100% at work, and I wasn't present 100% at home either. So you kind of don't benefit from either one. What's good about my phone is, and people will say, no, I'm not sure that's good, it's always dead. I am always forgetting to charge it in the battery. Otherwise, I'm pretty good at not looking at my phone too much because I just kind of don't really care to. We post for the brand, but on my personal page, I don't really. My daughter is 8 and my son is 5. I think staying home is not something I like. It's not something my kids like either. I think they're used to us doing something on the weekends.
Same. Like my baby wakes up every morning and she's asking, where are we going today?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess I implanted it in her. Like, is there any other art form that you would actually try to do yourself as well, or any other creative form that's not even art form? Just like, is there anything else Meruert wants to do?
I think it's, in some ways, it's such a like ADHD thing for me. I always come up with some weird idea where I'm like, oh my God, I should write a book. I want to paint this, and maybe I should do sculptures. I think I'm always doing that. What's nice is with this brand, I can actually do a lot of those things and kind of incorporate them into it. I would definitely, if I wasn't doing this, I would probably love doing interiors or writing. Or like, they're all such different things, but I think.
Do you do any writing? Like,
I used to write poetry when I was younger.
Is there any special piece that I should try?
Yeah, so I think this smocked coat is something that it's from the new collection that was on the runway, and I really enjoyed creating this because we first went from creating.
What fabric is that? Is it like a silk?
It's a silk, and it's smocked, and it's actually a little person's head, and it's the same one that you see on the window when you enter. So it's, let me see if I can pull one up. But if you spread it out, it's the little girl's face. And that creates the smock, and it looks like little flowers or kind of ambiguous, but it's nice because there's like a little hidden
And I also
silhouette
like that
in
it's kind of almost like a dress coat, so you can wear it as a dress as well.
You could.
As a coat too, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a duster, so you could pair it over a slip, or you could wear it on its own and kind of put a belt on it and just open it up from the top and make it look like it's more of a dress. I guess you could roll up your sleeves. So it's light as well, and it's lined with organza, so it's very breathable.
Okay, let me try it out.
Yeah, of course.
So excited. I always feel so special when I wear your pieces. Like literally, my baby obviously says that I look like a princess, you know, with all the dresses and stuff. But they do, you know, especially when they have like a corsetry or those exaggerated hips or shoulder lines. It always makes you feel kind of like almost like royal / from like historical movie for me character, because I also like historical movies. So for me, it's like.
I do too. Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to the changing rooms. Thank you so much for having me, and this space is so beautiful, and obviously the pieces I've been admiring your pieces for a long time, and I'm so honored and excited to be at your shows and to wear your looks and to see you growing and glowing and getting even more inspiring.
Thank you so much. Thank you.